and welcome to the Lightworker Happy Hour Podcast. I have a special guest with us today, Kristine King, all the way from beautiful California. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Lauren.
I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about today. We are going to dive into working through fears and doubts and all of that stuff that comes up when you are trying to live a soul-led life. I think a lot of people are experiencing a lot of changes in their life right now, and with that comes a whole bunch of emotions and challenges and obstacles and all that stuff. So I think that this is such a great topic to start this with. First, Kristine, since this is happy hour,
Yes.
You brought a drink with you. I brought a drink with me.
We have our drinks.
You want
Yes.
to share with us what you were drinking?
Yes. So because we're doing this at 11 a.m. my time, 2 p.m. your time, there's no alcohol, but I'm having a guava ginger tea with some watermelon ice cubes that I made a couple of weeks ago. So it's really refreshing and delicious.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That sounds so fancy. I love it.
That's so funny. I was like, this is going to be quick and easy, not fancy at all. But I think the fancy part is because of the watermelon,
Yeah. I was not expecting that. Yeah. That's good. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
And what are you drinking?
That for sure. I don't know if you ever had one of these, but I've been making these, what they call adrenal cocktails.
Oh.
So this is coconut water, which has a lot of potassium in it.
Okay.
And orange juice and a little bit of salt.
Ooh.
And it's supposed to be like really replenishing like minerals and stuff. So
I love that. It sounds good.
It does. And it was recommended to me because, which we'll get into, about when you're dealing with like, chronic stress and burnout and all that stuff, your like adrenals kind of get messed up.
Yeah.
So somebody told me that this is a good way to kind of give them back what they've been missing.
Give them some love.
It's refreshing.
I love that. I'm going to have to try it because I'm sure my adrenals are shot too. Yeah. Cheers. Cheers to healthy adrenals.
Yeah. Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And recovering from burnout.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's right. Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kristine, if you would like to, we'll take a few moments before we kind of get into the self and talk about you.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, like Lauren said, my name is Kristine and I live in Ventura, California. I'm still, as I'm transitioning, I'm like, am I a licensed marriage and family therapist? Am I a former licensed marriage and family therapist? So I'm in this in-between transition of, I'm not a therapist currently, but I just left my private practice and am transitioning to a soul-led path, which we'll be talking more about, but I'm transitioning into wanting to do more in nature and connect more to community and bring people together in a fun way where we could play, connect to each other, connect to nature, which is what I felt was missing in my work. Even though I love the work that I do, I think a lot of the times we get caught up in the healing and the doing. And I know for me, I forgot to play. I forgot to still connect with my friends. And I really want to bring that back in a way where we can get together and just have a good time like we are now, right? Like bringing in the lightheartedness into things.
I love that. I definitely think, like what you were saying about focusing on our healing work and all, doing all of these things, which are great. And they're definitely great things to have. But sometimes, at least for me, I know it's so easy to get caught up in the
Yeah,
healing and you forget to live.
exactly.
And you always think like, oh, well, there's just, I'm not healed enough, or I'm not whatever.
Right.
That you forget it's getting back to what we're really here for. I mean, yes,
Right.
healing is part of it and community is part of it, but it's also about living your life.
Exactly.
Um,
And living your best life, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So, and not just like financially, but just in life in general. Like, I don't like life was meant to be hard. Um,
Right.
but I think it's so deep rooted um, in a lot of people that, there's some, that it's supposed to be hard and we're supposed to struggle
Yeah.
and we're supposed to hate our lives.
Hmm. Right. We're supposed to be
So
adults and
it's, I love that.
yeah.
So how did you, so walk me through the process of your, how you transitioned from being in private practice to your, incredibly awesome. Um, and I guess what inspired you to take that route?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, this was really like a 3-year process. Something that I had been thinking about when the pandemic hit in 2020. And I just, was taking a look at my life and like, is this what I want to be doing? And is this how I want to be doing it? And the answer was no. I love being a therapist, and there's a lot of limitations that I found in the work, like any job. But it started to get really heavy and had an impact on me, and so I was like, I want to make a change. And it took me 3 years of thinking about it and really being in that fear that we're talking about of, can I make this leap? What am I going to do next if I'm not a therapist? Um, and it was a process of doubting myself and then being ready and then not being ready and going back and forth for a really long time. So it wasn't something that was quick and easy. And I think I, really want to speak to that of this was not an easy decision, and it was challenging for me to fully step into um, where I'm at now. And I'm not quite fully on the other side of it yet. I'm still in the liminal space of being in the transition of it. Um, but it really started with just having this feeling of like, no, there needs to be something needs to be different. Something needs to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I've felt that way too. And as much as we want change,
Mm-hmm.
you're going through, like you said, the fears of,
Mm-hmm.
can I do this? Does this make sense?
Right.
Um, and I know, like, a lot for me, um, when I was kind of came to the same conclusion that, there's got to be more in life, not just
Right.
for myself, but even like in like what I bring to the world. Like, there's so much more that I have to offer.
Yeah.
But with that, I was a deep seated people pleaser.
Mm.
Um, I think I'm 33 now, so I think I've spent 30 years of those 33 years, um, like living my life for other people.
Yeah.
You know, your family, your friends, society, boyfriends, whatever, you
Right.
know. And so when I was like, nah, I really don't feel like this is for me anymore. And I knew it like deep in like my soul that I needed a change. All of that comes with it. It's like, oh, well, what will people think?
Right.
You know,
Right.
especially, you know, when you say, when you tell people like, oh, I'm just going to follow my soul, they're like, what? What does that even mean?
Right.
And so there's
Right.
that, you know, because you sound like you're crazy.
Yeah.
It's definitely,
Totally.
it's the challenges that come with it.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And I'm also I don't need, not recover. I'm in recovery. I'm an in recovery people pleaser as well. So I'm fully in that too. Not on the other side of that as well, but it, you know, it's a coping mechanism that we develop to stay safe. And part of that response is like I have to please in order to stay safe in the world. And so it is deeply rooted. It's not,
Yeah.
you know, it's not so easy as, okay, let me just not please when it's been a way of survival.
Because it is all about
Mm-hmm.
survival.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think, you know, oh, you know, I just recently left a job that I was at for 10 years.
Wow.
And that was scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
How is
because you
it?
have that sense of, you know, it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know,
Yeah. And how long did it take you, or how long were you thinking, or when did you get that soul like nudge of like this isn't it?
you know, honestly, I think it was probably about 4 years ago.
Okay.
Excuse me. I just, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't know, you just feel different, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. It's a feeling. Yeah.
but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then, you know, but as, you know, time goes, you just it's I think what really it felt like everything in my life was starting to go
Mm.
wrong. Um and that was kind of but the more I began to, you know, kind of heal things and move through things, you realize that if you if things in your life are not going well, or you feel bad, or like your entire world gets flipped upside down,
Yeah.
like something's up and that you're not supposed to be
Right.
there. So it was like you said,
Yeah.
especially when you make a big change, because you got to move through, you know, the fears and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. All the gunk that comes up
And
from it.
when your
Yeah.
soul calls you, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. And, you know, when your soul calls you to something, it does feel very subtle. And then as time goes, until you just can't, like, that's kind of how I got to the point. I made the decision fully, like probably at the beginning of the year, and it was like my soul was like, you cannot do this
Yeah.
anymore. Like
Right.
I have been bugging you for years, you know, and so
Yeah.
that's when I did the decision to leave. And even right now, I don't have like a quote unquote like job. And even in that, that's kind of
Mm.
scary. Um,
Yeah.
because I knew that I
Yeah.
needed to take, you know, this job in particular, it was a very toxic environment
Okay. Yeah.
that I was in.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't just leaving a job. It was leaving like who I was while I was there. If that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Like the version of
totally.
me that excuse me. Like the version of me that like accepted
Right.
all go
Right.
to. Which I think for me that was also a reason why it probably took so long, because not only did my like career
Mm-hmm.
have to die, like a
Right.
part of
That
me
version of
too.
you, right.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean there's a lot that comes with, you know, doing what you feel
Mm-hmm.
in your heart is right for you, whether that's a job or a relationship. There is a lot of working through the mess and the fear and all of that stuff.
Totally.
What or what is something that helped you kind of work through it all?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think the thing that helped was that like nudge or that whisper, like that soul knowing or whisper, like kept coming up and kept coming back. And to me, it was always this reminder or this like knowing of like, okay, this part of me is continuing to show up. Like there must be something true or important, or yeah, something really important must be in there that I'm not listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Like something to really anchor me and to come back to, even with, you know, the people pleasing stuff that would come up, or my childhood trauma stuff that would come up of, yeah, but this is my career, this is what I'm doing, when really it was an identity of being the parentified child, right? Like the parentified child became a therapist. Like that's me, yeah, continuing to be in my family role. And there was a part of me that kept reminding me of like, this isn't really who you are. Like this is part of what you chose to do, but this isn't your true self. So I think that reminder, even though I didn't fully consciously understand it, there was something about it that really was comforting and reassuring. And I'm so glad I've listened to it, even if it did take me however long that it did. I'm so glad that I had that part of me, that like that wiser part of me, or that higher self, like that soul-led part that we're talking about, that really can guide us even if we're not ready to listen fully.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's always a unseen force, I think. And whether, you know, whatever you can call it, whatever you want.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, however you identify with it, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's still there. And I think, at least for me,
yeah,
you don't always allow yourself to listen.
Oh no, me too, girl.
You know? And
you are not alone, and neither is anybody else who's listening.
Yeah,
like you are not alone.
I mean, it's that human part of you is like, no, I am in control here.
Right. Right. I know what I'm doing. I know what's good for me.
I know what's good for me and all that stuff. And then then you have like a rude awakening and you realize, no, I clearly have no idea
Yeah, the
what is
slap.
good for me. Yeah. Like, no, I don't
I
know.
know nothing. I am
I know
not in
nothing.
control of any of it.
Anything at all.
Mhm.
Yeah. It does it's like, especially like as an adult, you want to, it's like break away from your parents. And so
Yeah.
that's what it feels like to me. It's like I'm an adult. I have control of my life. And then,
Right.
the divine
Right.
comes in and is like, no, child, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't. Um,
Yeah, when those inner children are running the show, it's like, wait, we're adults here. We can do what we want.
yeah. And there's that kind of push and pull. Um, and that's honestly what I think, I guess my interpretation of like fear is really kind of like it's to me, I feel like it is like your inner child. Like the fear that you feel is
Yeah.
the little version of you is like, whoa, that's not safe.
Right.
It's not safe to, be walking in nature with people. It's not safe
Right.
to not have, financial security and have a 9 to 5. And,
Right.
it's safer to, be what your parents want. Um, and
Right.
so moving out of that, like at least that's like in my mind where it's like your little person is like rebelling
Right.
against you. And that's,
Totally.
where it's weird. It's just a weird dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like having to like, be the parent. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
we are doing this.
Yeah.
We are going there.
Right.
And it's
Like, I know
so,
this feels safe, but it's not
yeah,
actually
it's not
safe.
safe. Excuse me. And like um for me, I had a lot of that like good girl mindset.
Mm,
Um
totally.
and up until now.
Yeah.
And so I'd never really wanted to go against the grain. So when I started my Lightworker path,
Yeah.
and I think I knew that I wanted to be of service, and I knew that I could be. Um, and even, like in the work I do now, it's a lot of, I teach a lot of like shadow work, which I love that stuff. I'm a Scorpio, so
Oh,
we're deep
yeah. You
in it.
guys
Okay,
love the shadow. Yeah.
we love that
You're
stuff.
you're in the depths. Yeah.
Yeah,
In the dark. Yeah.
in the dark. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because for a long time I was very comfortable there.
Yeah.
Um,
So was I. Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
I was very comfortable in the dark and in the
Mm-hmm.
shadows. And was I pretty much had depression my whole life.
Yeah.
And moving, and I think part of that was because I felt safe there. I felt safe in that deep dark mindset, and I kind of took it on as like a part of my identity.
Yeah.
I was
Thank
just
you
like,
for
oh, I'm just
sharing. Yeah.
depressed. And so I carried that depression mindset as like, that's just who I am.
Right.
And so when maybe not me, but I guess my higher self,
Yeah.
which is me, I guess, was kind of like, okay, you need to come. You've been, in the shadow for a long time, and it's time for you to, kind of alchemize that and bring it to the light. And that was hard.
Yeah.
That was very hard for me.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was started telling people that I was a light worker. Of course, if everyone thinks you're nuts, because most people don't, understand what that means, which is fine.
Right.
That's what we're here for,
Right.
to explain that. But yeah, there's a lot of comfortability in this the stuckness
Mm-hmm.
of being at a job that you hate, even though you
Right.
know you hate it.
Right. But
There's
there's a familiarity there.
there's
Yeah.
the familiar in that.
Right.
Same thing with like, if you're in a relationship that you just know I shouldn't be with this person. There's the
Right.
familiar in that, and then moving away from that is challenging
Mm-hmm.
and it's scary. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people give themselves enough credit when they're working through. I mean, taking a leap of faith of that is hard. Because it is. It literally feels like you're in the unknown.
Yeah. Lots. Big depths. Big ocean sea
Big ocean sea.
of unknown. Yeah.
So, definitely.
Yeah. And, I'm just thinking about the people who will listen to this. If you are someone who is contemplating whether that's leaving a job you're not happy in, or a relationship, or even if it's family, whatever your situation is, really, first, you're not alone. And second, it is hard, and it gets to get less hard.
Yeah.
But that it is challenging. And I think, I can speak for me, but I also think you feel similarly, Lauren, is that the reason why we want to come on here and talk about this experience is so that way people can feel like they're not alone, and people can relate and see that, yeah, it comes with its challenges, and the parts of it that don't feel good and are challenging, right? You have to break through your childhood trauma. You have to break through those survival mechanisms, or there's those coping mechanisms, and it's worth it no matter what. Even through the hard or the pain or the feelings. I know I was in such limbo. I was in such back and forth of like, yes, no, for so long. And that was just even torturous, like the fact that I went through that, but it was a part of my process. And I think, wherever you are in your process is really accepting that that's a part of it, and that's a part of your journey, no matter how long it takes. Obviously, we don't want it to last forever, but sometimes, right? Sometimes we need those years, or we need the lesson a few times before we get that slap or that wake up call, or the like, how much longer am I going to, keep doing this before we actually make the change? And, I think us speaking about it and really speaking about it, not from this place of like, oh yeah, it was so easy, and like, I just made a decision and did it. But like, yeah, it's hard, and it takes guts, and it takes really looking at, a lot of what is keeping you stuck, because it's not just because you enjoy it, and maybe a part of you does enjoy it. Like we were saying, like there's a part of it that is so familiar that it's almost comfortable and safe, but it's really not.
No, it isn't. And I think it's so easy to see people on the other side. Like, I mean, all you got to do is look on Instagram or TikTok and you see everyone living their best lives.
Right.
And that's great.
Right.
But I don't think that a lot of people talk about how people get there.
Yeah.
It's just, the excuse me. It's just, the lifestyles and all this stuff. But there's a lot of mindset work in there. I mean, there's a lot of shifts that you have to, if you want to have that life, that relationship, that friendship, whatever,
Yeah.
There is a lot of working through the mess and the fear, and it's not easy,
No.
but every day gets better, and it it works, and what works for me may not work for you or anybody
Right.
else, and
Right.
that's we're very fortunate to live in the time that we do, because there is so many different ways
Yeah.
of
So many.
moving through
Hmm.
those fears and the traumas and all that stuff, um,
Right.
and just coming. I think for me, the my purpose of what got me started on looking at things differently, looking at myself differently, was because I wanted to remember who I was
Mm.
before
I love that.
all of the just life.
Right.
You're going through. You got your parents, you got your family, your friends,
Yeah.
high school, whatever, and you're just
Right.
going through the motions.
I love that so
And I
much.
think it's so easy for people. Um, I'm sure we both experienced this, and you just wake
Mhm.
up one day and you're like, "Who the hell
Oh, yeah.
is
Who
this
am
person?"
I? Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and you
Totally.
totally just forget why what I'm here for. I mean, especially like for me, because I literally was such a people pleaser. I mean, literally, I didn't even know like the things I liked or
Yeah.
didn't like
Same.
because I felt
Same.
like, oh, well,
Same.
so and so likes it, or my
Right.
boyfriend at the time really likes it, so I should like it too. And it's like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't realize how easy it is
Yeah.
to forget that you like even exist because you're
Right.
just going through the motions and the flows of everything.
Totally.
And so it sometimes it excuse me, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Um it can almost feel like an overnight thing in a sense of like I think literally I just woke up one day and I was like, I don't know, I just had a come to Jesus meeting with myself, and I just
Yeah.
like I don't know who I am. Like
Yeah.
it was got to the point where I would look in the mirror and feel like hollow. And so that was what helped me get there was I'm sure it wasn't an overnight thing, but in that moment it felt like it was.
Yeah.
Um and I was going somewhere with that and I just lost me. Uh anyway, it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
Um
Well, you were saying about like forgetting like who you were, that you even had a self, that you even had likes,
yeah.
that you,
So
yeah.
when I started, I guess you would say my healing journey, that's I had to go back to literally square one
Yeah.
and uncover all of that stuff. And I know for some people, and even for me, when you do it, a lot of people like, oh well, my parents were great.
Hmm.
My childhood was great, and I'm not negating that it wasn't.
Yeah.
And like, it's not for me. Like when you do, like going back to like the inner child stuff, it's not about saying your parents are bad people or
No, not at
saying
all.
whatever it is. It's
Right.
about understanding and accepting that people can only meet you where they meet themselves,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
And which comes back to, like, for me, it was like ingrained in my head. You got to have a job. Well, you got to graduate high school. You got to
Okay.
go to college. You
Yeah.
got to get a job. You got to buy a house. You literally go through the motions. I mean, that's just what
Right.
was instilled in me.
Right.
And that's, and I understand that now, that's fears that other people have because they feel comfortable in the safetyness of having this type of career or living in this type of home or
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
Even though, you see people all the time and they clearly do not enjoy their lives whatsoever, but they
And they
feel like
have all the things.
right, and that you should have the same life that they do. And so they project all that stuff
Right.
onto you, which then makes you think like, oh, well, I should have it too.
Right.
And then you become this fearful cycle just continues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's until, someone comes along and says, that's it.
Right.
It's not right. I don't want this,
Right.
But yeah. I just went off on a tangent. That just felt like it needed to come out.
No, that was so good and so important. So good, so important. My pause is just like taking all of that in of like,
Yeah.
And how beautiful that you wanted to, get to know who you were, regardless of the conditioning and what was told and what was projected onto you. And that was similar to my journey as well, is that I wanted to know, like, who was I? What did I stand for? What were my values? What were my likes? What were my dislikes? And like, who am I without all this conditioning? Who am I without my childhood trauma? Like, who am I at my core? Like, who is my truest, most beautiful, highest version of me? And I think that that's so beautiful that, we both felt that way and really wanted to know that part of ourselves, which has led us here to a more truer, more beautiful life that we're walking into.
Yeah. And one thing that I absolutely love, this literally gets me every time, is, for example, my dad is very old school, okay? Very high school, college, get a job, drive a sedan, have a 401k, the whole thing, okay?
Yeah. Is getting married on there? Is getting married on there?
It was, but I think he's not given up on me, but I think he's just realized that it'll just happen when it happens.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing, like work at a job for 40 years, the whole thing. And so with him, when I told him that I didn't want that, it caused some issues between us. And not because he was, I don't want to say not accepting, but it was more of, I think he was afraid for me because that's what his conditioning was.
Right. That's what he knew. That's what he knows. Right.
And so now that I have begun to live a life that is, I truly feel good about, and I feel it gets in alignment, I'm actually like inspiring him to do the same, which is like my favorite part is
that's amazing.
When you allow yourself to remove the fear and step into whatever it is. I mean, it could be literally whatever. Is you don't realize the impact that you have on other people.
Right.
Because then when people see you, they're like, oh, well, Kristine's out there doing her thing. Why can't I do my thing? And then it just snowballs from there.
It's that ripple. And by the way, before this, we were both nervous and scared, and we did it anyways. Like we did it, felt the fear and did it anyways.
Right. I mean, literally before we hit record, I was literally in the depths of like a nervous panic attack. And here we are. Here we are working.
And we didn't die yet.
No, not yet.
I'm enjoying myself so much.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's just flowing. But yeah, I love when you, and it's weird because I never really thought that I had, I'm sure you can probably relate to this too, is I never thought that like I was going to be like impactful, like, or influence people, like, when you see people, you're like, oh my God, I want to be just like her.
Right.
I never really thought that I was going to be that type of person for
Yeah.
other people. And so even that in itself, like, kind of switched those like limiting beliefs for me, because I was like, oh, well, maybe I am kind of cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe I am whatever. Which just opens things up even more. I mean, it really is truly at its core all about expansion.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
And each little, like, I feel like every time when you have like a doubt that comes in, or fear, limiting belief, whatever, and you like, just like we did with this recording, you feel the fear and you do it anyway, you are literally expanding.
Yes.
Every single time. And that field just gets bigger and bigger, and then it reminds me of like a big like bubble. Like and then it just goes out and out, and then more people just get into your bubble, and then you just create this ginormous bubble.
Yeah, you're expanding your bubble.
I visualize it.
Yeah, no, I love that.
In my head.
I love it.
And it's like that ripple effect.
It is the ripple that keeps on growing and giving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think part of that expansion that you're talking about, that like expanding and stretching, also requires that leaning into the discomfort and the uncomfortable, or that like shadow dark that we're talking about. Like, part of that is leaning into that, not staying in it. Like, you don't have to stay in it forever. Yeah. But part of it is being able to embrace and feel those feelings that come up and move past it. And I think that's part of what I'm wanting to bring in with this transition and this pivot that I'm doing, is that so much of therapy, and it's important work, I'm not knocking it, I think it's so important. So much of being in that discomfort and that shadow, like, we need to do that, and we don't need to stay in it. So part of what I'm wanting to bring in is like, we need play, we need connection, we need laughter. And I know part of what you're bringing in too is like, we get to have a Lightworker Happy Hour. Like, we get to like chat and have fun and laugh, and also be dark and deep, but also be light and playful. And we need both. Like, just like we need the dark, we need the light. So this is part of me coming out of the dark in a way of bringing in my light, and hoping to balance out the two, because I was so in the dark, so in the shadow, and I'm really wanting to balance that out, where we could have both exist in the bubble simultaneously at the same time.
No, and I think it's important that, we live in a very, dualistic world, and there's, polarities and everything. And in order to be in true balance, you need to have both. You need to have, I mean, like, I love healing work. I love shadow work. I love all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I have no problems being down in the trenches with somebody. But at the same time, if we spend all of our time doing the healing work and all of this stuff, you're not really out there living. And
no.
You're kind of like, you're doing, I mean, what are you doing all the healing work for?
Right. To live. Right.
To
not stay in your room and cry and journal and not talk to your friends, which is so much of what I would do.
Yes. I mean, I was a huge lone wolf for a long, like, many years of my life.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it wasn't honestly until probably about a year ago when I kind of felt like I got to that point where I felt like I've done a lot of this on my own.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that will get me. Like,
right.
I've done it on my own. I've done the journaling. I've done this. I've meditated. I've everything. All the things.
All of it, yeah.
And that's, it's like I need to get out there. I need to have a community,
right.
just like, like with what we're doing right here, talk to people.
Right.
And because there's what, like, I have to share could be impactful to you. And then you're like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way.
Right.
And then vice versa. Like, it's, I love being alone. Yeah. I absolutely love my alone time. And that's something that's part of my shadow too.
Yeah.
Because it's been uncomfortable for me to be in community. And there's a whole, sister wound and all that stuff that, that comes with that. And so that's another part of the working through that fear part of it's okay to have community. It's okay to be in the dark with other people. It's okay to be in the light with other people.
Right.
And doing very human things. I mean, yes, we are all spiritual people. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. But I know for me, you spend so much time in the spiritual part that you almost forget you're a human. And it's like, no,
right.
I can
you need to be here on earth. Yeah.
Yeah, like you can have that's what we're here for. And get out and get out and play. And it's, if you don't meditate one day, it's not a big deal. That's part of the human part.
Right.
And like you were saying, with not that therapy's bad. I definitely, it works.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also another side of it too.
Right.
It's like, and with what the work that you're doing out in nature with people, and I think that's great because you're literally getting people moving.
Yes.
Getting
people moving in their bodies. And
literally, you're moving from quote unquote off the therapist couch.
Mm-hmm.
And you're putting what you're saying into practice.
Yes.
And
yes.
there's fear that comes with that too.
Oh yeah.
Because you can read 25 self-help books a year, but if you don't go out there
and apply it, right? It's no good.
It's no good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which I also did that too.
Girl, I cannot tell you the library I have.
Oh, me too. Me too.
And that's because I had that like mindset of I'm not ready.
Right.
I
need to read one more book, one more podcast.
Mm-hmm. I gotta meditate more. I gotta whatever, and it all comes back to that fear and that comfortability and that safeness. I made that self-help library book every night as like my new Bible, and I ran with that, and I got into that cocoon of, I just got to read one more book.
Right.
I got to read all the books. I got to read this. I got to do all the things, and then I'll be ready.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, as you know, you're never really ready. I mean, I wasn't really ready to launch this podcast, and here we are.
No, I love it.
And I'm still working out the kinks.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. And that's the human part, I think, of it, is you get to figure it out. You get to, in whatever aspect it is, whether it's a career thing or I want to move across the country or another country or whatever, is allowing yourself to be okay with not having all those details.
Yes.
Yeah,
allowing yourself to be human.
We all want to, have all the boxes checked and this, that, and the other, and it just don't work like that.
Nope, it sure doesn't.
You know?
It sure doesn't.
So how does your how did you let me think the right I know what I want to say. I'm just trying to get my words right.
Yeah.
What came to you when you woke up one day and says, you know what, I want to be an intuitive nature guide? How did that process work? And how does the process work? Because I'm very curious. I think it's awesome.
You know, I don't think there was one specific moment. I really think this has been a part of me for so long. And I think it's just been, like we're talking about, an unlayering or an uncovering. But I think once I finally left psychotherapy and that whole world, it kind of just started to naturally happen, where I was starting to spend more time outside, and I was just going to the beach every day. And I just moved to Ventura about a year ago. So I've been going to the beach for the last year, almost every day. And when I fully stopped the job, I was going like twice a day. Like the beach has become my safe place, like my healing place, my everything place. And it kind of just naturally came to be on its own, where I was like, you know what, this has been feeling so good. This is where I want to be. Like, this is where I would want to do my work. If I could work and create my own job and create a job that aligns with me and feels good, like I would want to be outside.
Yeah.
And so like we're talking about, it's really in what, Lauren and I met in a coaching group, and what our coach always says is like, it's that taking that messy action that really helped me get more aligned and realize, like, I don't want to be in an office job. I don't want to be sitting on a chair for 5 hours straight. Like, I want to be moving my body. I want to be outside. I want to do this in community. I want to help people connect to their inner child in a playful way. I want to help people relearn, because we all know how to, but I want to help people reconnect to this part of them that we've all lost, especially as becoming adults. I think we all lose touch of our inner children who just want to play. They just want to be outside. And it doesn't mean we don't take responsibility of what we have to do. It doesn't mean we don't pay our bills. It doesn't mean we don't go to work and do what we need to, but it means that we also make room for play and fun and adventure and exploring and being outside and connecting to our bodies and connecting to ourselves and ourselves in a different way, not just in the way that where we kind of become machines or robots, or we just kind of, it gets us in the mundane. And I really want to support breaking us out of that and creating this new way of being in the world again, and coming back to our human parts, like the parts that we all have and have lost. And so to answer that in a long-winded way is that it was just being in my own life and living my life that allowed me to kind of come to this new point in my journey.
I love that. I really love that. And I think that's the best way.
Yeah.
Through your own experience.
Right.
And what, feels good for you. Yeah. And how you can apply that to different areas. Like, I think it's great. I think we spend way too much time indoors.
We do, especially since COVID, and working from home.
Yeah. So I think it's great too. I mean, what better way to do the work than to literally do the work. And so you're taking the elements of your experience with psychotherapy, and you're applying it to real life things. And like you said, I mean, of course, as much as we would love to, play at recess all day long. It's not,
Right.
it's, you can still function and do your thing, but we lose that, um, like childlike curiosity.
Yeah.
Which I think
Right.
is huge.
Right. And we lose that connection to recess. Like
Yeah.
when do we get recess? And we need to make sure that we're getting that. Even if it's not nature, is it playing basketball? Is it
Yeah.
playing the guitar? Is it connecting with friends at the library? Like, whatever it is, making sure that we're doing that and getting that in whatever way it looks.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think I don't think that you realize how impactful that will be.
I don't think I do yet. Like
Yeah.
like anything, I think when we just start doing something, we don't know how it's going to be. And I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be or what the impact will be. I'm hoping it has an impact, but I'm glad that you can see that it will.
Yeah. Because I think, we make, and again, which comes back to, forgetting about us, is like, even when we go to the gym, like you go for the gym for an hour, obviously people do it for different reasons, but
Right.
it's because I want to be stronger, or I want to look better in a bathing suit or whatever.
Right.
And so you block out that time to, obviously you go to work or whatever type of work you do. You block out time to go to the gym, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
But we never block out time to play.
Right.
Time to just explore things. And I know, like, to some, it might seem to some people that, like, oh, well, why would you do that? It's like, because
right. It might seem silly. Right.
Yeah, that's the point.
Exactly.
That's the point.
Exactly. Is to make a fool of yourself. And I think, it's like how we do things, because say the gym is your thing, right? Like, do you go to the gym and keep your headphones in and keep your hat down and not talk to anybody? Or are you going to the gym? Are you having fun? Are you mingling? Are you, talking? Are you connecting? Like, I think that's what's missing is like how we do things and bringing back like our playful nature, our childhood nature of like, hey, you just meeting someone and being like, hey, do you want to be my friend? Like, I remember in kindergarten and first grade, like that's how I met all of my best friends, was like, hey, do you want to be my friend? And I didn't know them. They didn't know me. It was just this like childhood energy that just was like curious and imaginative and excited to meet new people and want to connect in that way.
And I think that is so great in regards to like, what is better inner child work than literally going back to the basics of the play and the curiosity and the just forgetting all of the shit, all of it.
Right.
Like, just forget about going to the gym, forget about, I don't want to say forget about paying your bills, but kind of for an hour or whatever. Just forget about all the like adult things.
Right. Right.
Go back to the basics and feel safe in that. Feel safe in being silly, and not only being silly, but being in a container that accepts that and is there's no like, okay, when you're kids, I know some kids can be cruel.
Yes.
And but that's part of it though. That is part of
it. Right.
We've all been in school.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids can just be awful. And so
right.
by going back to that and like literally reliving those moments over again, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
In a completely different space. That like just talking about it, I feel like my nervous system is rewiring.
Oh, that's amazing.
And like with what I do, with the work that I do, with somatics and stuff, all of that's in the body. And the part of that is
so
getting
important.
it out and playing and having that, just like you do in like the early childhood development and part of your life, is being curious about your environment and how much peace and joy that can bring.
So
I think that's awesome. I really do. I really think that that's on the cusp. And if I can be so bold as to say, that's like the new future of probably therapy.
Oh,
Of
I would
getting it
love
out.
that. I
You
would
know,
love that.
it's kind of like taking, that recreational therapy like to the next level and like incorporating all the things
I would
in
love
that.
that. And that would be, wouldn't that be so amazing? Like, it's like next level integrating, like
Exactly.
we get
Exactly.
so stuck in the healing and the processing and the feeling, but we need to integrate what we're learning and apply it in a safe setting. And like you said, get out there and use the tools, not just let them stay dormant, and actually get it into our tissues. Like we need to rewire our bodies.
Yeah. Because, I'm not saying talk therapy is great. It serves a purpose.
And it
I'm
has
not
its
saying it's a bad thing.
limitations. Mm-hmm.
However, if you're in talk therapy for 20 years
Yeah.
and you're not moving through the natural progression of things, what are you really doing? And
Just,
part of it is, you can just like we've talked about before, doing the journaling things, doing all the things, yeah, it's great, but if you don't integrate it back into your body and your nervous
right.
system, talking about it's only going to get you. It's like you said about taking messy action.
Yeah.
Like talking about it to death is only going to
Right.
get you so far. And what a better way to integrate things than movement out in nature.
Right.
That just lights me up just thinking about it.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
You're literally, and especially out in nature. I don't know about you, but like I have had more spiritual experiences out in nature
Oh yeah.
than I have ever had anywhere else.
Oh yeah. It's the
Um,
best place to be, in my
you
opinion.
know,
I would live outside if I could.
yeah. And
I'm
so
sure I
what a
could.
better way to be, supported
Yeah.
literally, not only just by like us humans, but in like the space of nature.
Yes.
That's awesome. Really,
So
Chris.
healing.
Seriously, that you were on to something. You were on to something,
Oh, thank you.
and I love every minute of it.
Thank you so much for your
I wish we
excitement
would.
and your support. I know I was gonna say I wish we lived closer
I
too, so
know.
you could come.
I totally would be there.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think it's great. So, where would be the best place for people to get in touch with you? Contact. Oh, first of all, so is this? I know you're having something coming up soon.
Yes, this weekend. It's this Saturday. Yes. So I'm having my first nature day of play
Ah,
this Saturday, and I'm really excited about it. And I'll probably be doing like once a month play days for now,
yeah,
and just keep putting myself out there and talking about it and talking to the community. So I'd love to get more people involved and see how it
yeah.
grows and expands. So I'll be doing that once a month for now.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So, where would be the best place if someone was in um, the area that you're in? What would be the best way for them to find out about these nature play dates and or get in contact with you?
Yeah. Social media right now is the best place. So Instagram, at Conscious Living with Kristine. And I also have a TikTok at Conscious Holistic Living. So those two places, TikTok and Instagram, would be the best place to find me and to sign up for the events and to learn more details about the events that are coming up.
Awesome. And I will definitely, wherever any of you are watching this, I will put it somewhere in the description box or comments or wherever, so that you can find Kristine and get on these nature play dates because they're really going to be bomb ass. They're really going to be. I'm serious. Like, I might have to be making a trip to California soon. So
you may have to.
you
You may have to.
experience this in person.
Or I might have to bring them to you. I thought about maybe bringing them all over and doing some travel with them. So that's another option too.
Definitely. I'm on the East Coast, right on the beach.
Okay.
And then there's plenty. I live in Virginia.
Okay.
And I live in, there's so many like state parks and like hiking
amazing
trails and all that type of stuff.
The perfect place then. Yeah.
Around here. So yeah, I mean, 100%. You know my number. So
yeah, we might have to plan that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, for real. You could take this, ooh, that would be cool. If you just travel different places.
Yeah, and host them all over. I'd love to do that.
I'm telling you, you're on to something.
I know, and you're helping me brainstorm, so this is great. Yeah.
You can just hit the open road. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, thank you, Kristine, so much for being.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren.
Not only a guest, but you are my first guest.
I know.
And it has been such an honor to speak with you. I absolutely loved every minute of our conversation. Thank
you. And so have I. And you are my first podcast. So thank you for having me on and for making this fun and easy. And since being in group with you, I've loved you and your personality. And I think you're so fun. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I know it's so funny. We were so nervous, like right before this.
I know. Should we like check in to see how we're doing now? Like, how are you?
Yeah,
how are you?
I actually, I don't know about you, but like, I literally feel like lit up right now.
Yeah.
Like this was just, I was so nervous before. And part of that is, you're trying to check all the boxes,
right. Everything's right.
All this stuff, do I look okay? And then, you literally kind of swallow that fear and then you just go it, and here we are. And I feel so very comfortable.
I know.
And yeah, this was good.
Yeah.
This was good.
This was really good. It was so like seamless and natural, and I feel so excited and just like inspired. I feel motivated. I don't feel not that the fear like went away. I don't feel as scared.
Yeah.
And I'm in the like enjoying of it right now. Like it just feels so good. Like I can't stop smiling. Yeah.
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 Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for feeling your fear.
Yeah.
Not only feeling it, but moving past it and then being in the discomfort of it. So thank you for leaning into that. And I appreciate that about you. Yeah.
To you.
Yeah.
All right, Cheeky. Well,
All right.
I guess we will see you all on the next episode. Thank you so much.